Hello, my name is Casey Quisenberry, and today I'm going to show you how to connect Unreal 5 with source control by using GitHub. So GitHub is my preferred way to use source control with Unreal, mainly just because it's a free service and it's pretty easy to set up. And to first set it up, the first thing you're going to need to get is to download GitHub Desktop. This is going to give you a desktop app of GitHub, which is going to make it a lot easier to use Unreal and GitHub together. The next is going to be get large file storage. Now, obviously Unreal files are large, so this is just going to help you maintain that file as well as push and pull it a lot cleaner. And it's basically just an extension for Git, which makes it easier to use large files. It's as simple as that. So just download this and it should work. And the last thing is to create a GitHub account. You can do this by going to just the GitHub website. And I'm going to put a link to all three of these in the description. So to get started, here's just, the home page for GitHub. You're just going to hit new here for repository. Just going to hit new. I'm going to go here and put in a name for the repository. I'm going to call mine the colorless because I'm setting up a game project currently and just am recording this video to kill two birds with one stone essentially. So don't worry about the name. Name this whatever you want. It can be the name of your game project. It can be name, of your group that you're making a game with. It can be, just anything you want. Just make sure that you know the name of it. And so here you can put a description. So if you want to put, the GitHub for this game or a description of the game or whatever, you can. It's not really important. It's not really optional. The next thing is determine whether you want a public or private GitHub. Most likely you're just going to want to do private. Now, if you, for some reason, want to do public, that means that you're, okay with sharing the files to anyone online, and that's okay if you want to do that too. That's usually you do that if you have, a finished project, but if you're working on a project, then it's okay to just do private. I'm just going to do private, and then you can add a README. This is just going to be a file that is just, a note for anyone that is starting the project. So if you want to have, if you're working on a game and you need, some place to introduce what the game is, or just, something to say where everything is or explain your organizational system or something, you can put it here. I'm just going to go ahead and add it just for fun. Next thing is is this git ignore. And so basically what this is going to tell Git to ignore certain files because GitHub is not set up specifically to do things for Unreal. It's more set up to do things for, coding in general, like a C++ project or a Python project. It's not really set up for Unreal. But we can use this git ignore to basically tell Git to ignore, different file types like Unreal file types specifically. And so if we go down here, there's a bunch of template ones. We can do Unreal Engine. And then don't worry about this license thing. You don't have to deal with it. Just don't even select anything. And then create repository. Now, if you don't know what a repository is, it's basically going to be where your code lives on source control. If you don't know what a repository is, it's basically where all your code and where your project is going to live in this source control system. So right now, all we have is this README that is just, just says the name of the project. So if you click this thing, you can edit it. So you can say, whatever. Right, you can just put whatever you want there, and then you just hit commit changes. And then that'll change it. So now this is going to be stored and saved. And that's basically what we're going to be doing with source control, is that you're going to be making changes and then telling GitHub you made a change, and it's going to save your changes. So now let's go to the start. All right, so here's, again, all the code that we have. Again, it's just these two things. And so how do we actually get the Unreal project on here? So what we're going to do is go to this code thing, hit this drop down arrow, and go to local. And we're just going to open with GitHub Desktop. Now, this is why you need to make sure that you already have GitHub Desktop installed and Git large file storage installed already. That way we can go ahead and do everything. So if you haven't do that, just pause the video and go ahead and do that. But for those of us who already have that set up, let's just open with GitHub Desktop. Okay, so now we have our GitHub system set up here, and it's going to give us the name of the repo online, so of where we just had it, and it's also going to give us the local path for whatever our computer is. Now, you can choose where you want to put this. So currently, it's probably going to automatically put it in either a GitHub folder or just a document folder. It doesn't really matter where it goes, so just hit choose and choose wherever you want it to go. For me, I'm just going to put it inside of my Unreal project. So I'm going to go and find my Unreal projects inside my document, select folder. And so I'm getting an error. So this is going to depend on whether or not you've already created your Unreal project. So I already have. And so you might have already created and already named it the exact same as your repo, which is causing this error. It's because basically they both are the same. So you need to change it. So I'm just going to change this to the color. Again, this doesn't really matter. As long as your naming system is different from the actual project name, so that it has a different local path, it should be fine. I hope that isn't too confusing, but basically just go here and choose Unreal Projects and then rename it if you need to. So then I'm going to hit clone. And so that's just going to download the local files onto our system. And so the next thing is to go inside of our File Explorer. And so now, as you can see, we have the color right here, which is my GitHub system. So this is a project I want to clone inside of it. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to, and as you can see, we have our git ignore and our readme right here. It's the exact same as in our source control. And so I'm just going to move my project into my GitHub folder. And so as you can see, everything is in here. And so now I have my Unreal project inside here, and I'm just going to move these two into here. And so this becomes a little awkward because you have a folder, have to open it into a folder. So if you want, you can just move all of these back into just the folder and delete this like project folder. For me, I'm okay with having two folders because I will just open the Unreal project from the Unreal software. But if you specifically want to open it, from File Explorer, you might just need to tweak with that a little bit. And so now we have our Unreal project inside of here. And so now if we go to our GitHub, you can see that there are changes made here. These are all the things we've added into the project. So as you can see, we have green means add. It thinks we got rid of these, but it's just because we moved it. So it's fine. That just thinks it's been deleted and it hasn't. So I'm just going to explain how the system works. So here's all of our change files. This is everything that you change every single time you do something inside of the project. This is the summary. This is basically where you put what you change. So I'm just going to put initial file commit because these are just the initial files. And here you can put a more detailed description. So I'm just going to put placed Unreal project into GitHub. And then we're just going to commit to main. This is going to commit it to the GitHub on our local computer. So it's just basically saying, these are my changes. I approve of them. Put them into the local version, basically the desktop version of GitHub. And so this can take a while depending on what the changes are and how many are. So this is probably going to take a second. So now we have our files on our local GitHub. We need to push it to the actual cloud GitHub that's on like the website. So if you see here, we have push origin. That's going to actually push our changes to be finalized onto our actual GitHub server. So again, this can take a while depending on how big it is, which this one was pretty big, so it'll probably take a second. Okay, so now that we've pushed, all of our code is safely stored inside GitHub. Now, an easy way to check to make sure everything is okay is if you go back to the website. Let's just go ahead and refresh. We see that we have this folder. We double click it. We can see that we have all the different files that we want inside of it. So we have our U project file, and we have the content, we have config. So basically just showing that the push worked. It also will show you the name of the push from the summary that you typed in. So that's another way to double check that the correct thing has gone through. And then it also shows, when it was committed. The next thing you need to do is set up branches. Now what branches are is they're basically different parts of your GitHub server that store, different versions of the files that you're going to be using. And you're going to have a different version of the files just to basically ensure that not a lot of work is lost. And it's basically, helps for security and helps for organization. And we're going to go ahead and set that up. So what we're going to do is go to the GitHub app here. And as you can see up here, it'll have whatever current branch you're on. It'll also have fetch origin. Now what this fetch origin means is let me see if the GitHub source or the origin is what is currently on the local version. So it's basically going to take what's on the website or on the GitHub and pull it to your local computer and just compare the two. And if the same, it's going to do nothing. But if they're different, it's going to say, hey, let's pull those changes and make those changes. And then here we have our branch. So let's go ahead and hit this. So this is just, where all your branches are going to be, and this is how we're going to merge, which I'll show later. But first, let's make a new branch. So there's different ways to do branches, and I mostly have experience with smaller projects. So if you're doing, like a large project with, 30, 40 people, there's probably a better way to do it, but this is going to be, just for smaller projects. So there's basically two different ways to do it on smaller projects. One is that each person has their own branch. So say, there's 4 people on a team, Bob has his own branch, Dan has his own branch, Mary has his own branch or her own branch or whatever. And then, Sally has her own branch. And you just have your own branch and you just name the branch your name. And then that way you just make changes on your branch and then you just push it, right? That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, which is the way that I prefer, is to break it up by department. So you have a branch for development, you have a branch for art. And then if you're going to do development, you develop on the development branch. If you're going to do art stuff, you do it on the art branch. I think this way is better. That way that you're not working on the same thing at the same time. Let's say that, Bob and Sally are both developers. If Bob makes a change to the player character and Sally makes a change to the player character, and they try to commit their work, at the same time or right after another, they're going to lose work, right? Because you can't change the same actor or same object in Unreal at the same time and push them both at the same time, because that's going to cause a conflict because they're 2 different versions of the same file, which is going to lead to GitHub not knowing which one to use, and it's not going to be able to combine them automatically, right? Because they're 2 different versions of the same file. So that's why I think it's better to do it by department. So I'm going to make a development branch, and I'm just going to create branch, and we're going to publish the branch. So basically just going to send it to GitHub. All right, and then everything's good. And then I'm going to make a new branch called art. And okay, so if you make a new branch, it's going to ask which version of the branch to base it off of. Basically, when it makes a new branch, it just makes a copy of a branch. So you basically just need to pick which one you want to do of. Now, since we're just starting the project, it doesn't matter because both of these are exact same. But say you want to add a branch, later on during the project, just make sure you do whatever is the most up-to-date branch. So we're going to just go ahead and do main because it doesn't matter. And we're going to name this one art. Publish branch. And then let's make a third one called design. So say this is for, when you white box or when you go in to play test or when you're just, doing game design stuff, which we can even make it called game design. And it won't let you do spaces, but it'll automatically add a little dash for you. And then, theoretically, you can have more. You have a sound branch. You can have, a UI branch. You can have all of that. You could theoretically make 1,000 different branches. Don't get too crazy with it, but, add branches, as you need them. But we do need one more branch, and that is going to be called the merge branch. Okay, so now we have our branches. So what we're going to do is anytime you need to work in a branch, so say we're going to do something with game design. We're going to white box something, right? Let me go ahead and open up my Unreal file real quick. And so now I've opened up my project and I'm on the game design branch. So I'm going to go here and, let's say I'm making, just a simple white box. So let me, put down a cube. All right, there we go. And now look, we have a level. Not very exciting, not very well designed, but it is a level. So we added these 3 boxes, and let's say, okay, man, that's a great looking white box. I'm done. I want to push my changes. We're good. So the first thing you want to do is save, obviously. Make sure that you save everything. The next thing is you're going to do is just close Unreal, and then we have our GitHub. So if you look at it, the change files, it shows that we have the default engine. Basically, a lot of times when you open Unreal, it's going to compile things like the default engine, and it's going to say that things have been modified when things haven't really been modified. You can, if you want to look at it more specifically, you can see exactly what it thinks is happening in here. The next is it says that we added a map, which is just like the map I put everything in is. And we also added all those cubes in here, right? So I made my change. So let's just put, test white box, and we're going to commit this to this branch. Okay, so we've committed it to this branch on our local device. Now we're going to push it to the branch on our other device. Now what's important to note is that we've only made the change that we made is only on the game design branch. right? So our art branch does not have those 3 boxes. Our development branch does not have those 3 boxes. Our merge branch does not have those 3 boxes. Our main branch does not have those 3 boxes. But what if we want that to happen? Then we have to merge them together. So we're going to switch our branch to merge, which we forgot to publish that. So let's publish that real quick. And then we're going to choose branch to merge into merge. So we want to merge game design into merge, right? So you're going to want to select the branch you want to merge, and you're going to select the branch with the changes. So you're going to select the merge branch every single time. Every single time you're going to select the merge branch. That's why we have, that branch. And we're going to want to get whatever we made changes into and merge into that. So we create a merge commit. And so now we've successfully have merges correct. So we're going to push that. And so that's one way to push, and I'll show you the other way. So as you can see here, it automatically updated. It sees that we have these requests. So now if we go to our merge branch, you see we have the test white box change. But say that we also need that to be on the development so the developers can put in stuff for the white box. You'll see we don't have that. We only have our initial file commits. So I'm going to show you how to merge inside of the website as well. Because personally, I think merging inside the website is a lot easier and makes a lot more sense to me. And it's just like an easier way to do. It's also a good way to double check that the merge actually happened. All right, so now that we have this thing, we're just going to click compare and pull request. So here we have game design into main. We're going to change that to game design into development. And so we create pull request and then merge pull request and then confirm merge. So we have there. So now if we go to the code and we go to development, you'll see we have the test white box, which is what we want. And then all you have to do is the same thing for art. Now you might be wondering, why do we use the merge branch and not the main branch? What's the point of the main branch? The main branch is basically just the initial branch that you have. You don't really ever update it once you set it up. This is just sort of for safety. If you have, a big milestone or a big event happen to where you've 100% confirmed that the code is clean, everything's working, you can then push it to main. But a lot of times you can just leave main untouched and use merge as your main file. And also, if you have a big milestone or something like that, you can create a separate copy of your branch, the clean code for quarter 2 or milestone 2 or whatever you want to call it, and just have a branch that's basically like the good version, the good stable version of your game, of your file, that's just for whatever milestone you hit, right? And so you can add that to be another branch that no one touches again. Personally, I like to not do anything with main and just make a separate branch, every once in a while, once I have made sure that the code is good. The reason you do this is that you don't want to, accidentally corrupt a file or something inside of, one of the branches and then merge it into every single branch, including the main branch, and then realize, oh, all of the project is messed up now, right? That's why you want to have these safety nets of these different branches. And then the last thing we're going to go over is, of course, I talked about conflicts. This is when basically you push 2 different things that are the same file type at the same time, and GitHub doesn't know which one you should choose. The main way that you're going to run into GitHub conflicts is with the level map. So let me go ahead and open the file again. All right, say that I am an artist, I'm a 3D artist, and I want to go and I want to replace this white box with, some other static mesh, like a castle or something like that. Or let's say I just want to change the material from white to green, right? And so I do that. But let's say that, a designer is working on the level at the same time, and he comes in and he makes, another box to, revolutionize game design and add to this level. So we have an artist who's changing part of the level, and we have a game designer changing part of the level. When you merge those 2 together, you're going to have to pick whether you want the designer one or the art one, right? And that's just going to depend on the team and what the priority is and stuff like that. But as you can see, let me save real quick. Anytime you save this map, it is going to be a change. So let's just say you're not even wanting to change anything in the map. Let's just say that you're working on, a completely different development thing that's unrelated to the map. If you hit save on the map ever, or you hit save all, so if you go down here and you hit save all, it's going to save this map, and that counts as changing the map to Unreal, because Unreal says, oh, if you've saved this, that must mean you've made some changes, even though you might not have. Right, and so that can be a big issue. That's going to be 99% of your merge conflicts is just the maps conflict. So a couple of tips to do that is that one, if you're the developer, have a separate map from the main map. So let's say that this third person map is, the actual game map, the map that's going to have like the actual game. It has all of the assets and all the level. Make sure that as a developer, you have a test map or a development map that you don't care about, that you can basically go on and do all your dev work in there. So say I have a player character and I want to develop, their double jump mechanic. I shouldn't develop that inside of the actual game map because that's going to increase the probability of merge conflicts. I'm going to instead want to do it inside the test map. That way, if say someone else is working on the other map, we don't lose any, important development or important, map data. The other thing to do is just if you are going to be working on the main level is to make sure you communicate that with, your team or the other people you're working with. Just say, hey, I'm going to be adding something to the map, or I'm going to be adding art to the map, or I'm going to be, play testing the map. Is anyone else on it? If someone says yes, wait for them to get off. If someone says no, say, okay, I'm going to be on it, get on it. And then, just communication to make sure that no one's breaking. And then, if you can also make duplicates of the map. So say that, there's a main map and you want to update the art for it. You can go up there and update the art, but then let's say the designer wants to play test while you're doing that. You can make a copy of that map and just play test on that one. That way, there's no conflicts. So just minimizing map conflicts is going to help you a lot and to make sure that you don't lose a lot of progress. Now, let's say hypothetically that you do end up going into your map and, making a change or accidentally making a change that you don't want. Okay, what do you do if you do that? So what you can do is you can go to GitHub, and as you can see, it says that we have a change for our map here. If we simply just close Unreal and then right click and hit discard changes, it's going to pop up this window just asking if you're sure you want to discard this change. Hit discard changes, and it's basically just going to delete that from your service. So you no longer have that change in your history, and you can push to GitHub without having any conflicts on the level map at all. And one thing I forgot to mention is how to actually add people to your GitHub. So if you go to the GitHub website, go to settings, go to collaborators, then all you have to do is hit add people. And then you just have to type in either the GitHub username or the email of the person or persons you want to collaborate with. It's going to send them an email, and then if they accept, they'll be a part of the GitHub. So that's how you can add other people to your GitHub. So you can set it up. If you run into any errors or any merge conflicts, there's luckily a lot of online resources from both the Unreal forums and from GitHub forums that can help you with those. So any issues, make sure that you just Google them. You can get a lot of help with them as well. Okay, so thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot about how to set up source control in Unreal 5.